Have you ever noticed how hard it is to find people that feel real lately in your life? Just not perfect, not really successful, but like just real people. People talk differently now, I feel like. They act very differently, they react very differently. It feels like everybody's slowly becoming a character. And I don't say that with anger, but think a lot of people would genuinely like forget who they are. You go online and you see people trying to, not even trying, they're just saying the craziest things imaginable for attention. They're rage baiting. They're saying racist jokes. They're posting shock content. They're just performing in public humiliation rituals, fake personalities. And suddenly they go viral overnight. You've probably seen people recently blowing up online for saying hateful or outrageous things because the internet rewards reactions more than honesty. And that's the scary part. The algorithm doesn't care if someone is wise or kind or healthy. It cares if people stop scrolling. And anger is like one of the best things, the fastest things that get people to stop scrolling. Shock, like shock content, like it gets people to stop fast. So people slowly start learning something dangerous. The more extreme I become, then the more attention that I'll get. And honestly, that changes people over time. At first, maybe someone is joking, and then the attention starts to come in. The views, the reposts, the comments, feeding into their ego. And suddenly they start feeding a version of themselves that gets rewarded the most, even if it's ugly, even if it's not really them anymore. That's kind of what scares me about modern life sometimes, because people aren't really developing personalities anymore. They're developing brands. Everyone's, you know, everything's becoming performance based. You know what I mean? Like, how do you dress? How you speak? How controversial you are? How different you can seem from everybody else? Even authenticity gets performed now. And deep down, I think a lot of people are exhausted from pretending, because pretending all the time slowly disconnects you from yourself. You stop asking, like, what do I actually believe? And you start asking, what version of me will get attention today? And that's a dangerous trait, I feel like, because attention comes fast, but losing yourself happens very slowly. And it's going to be drawn out over time until you're fully gone. I think a lot of people don't even realize how influenced they become. You scroll long enough, and eventually your humor changes, your opinions change, your attention span changes, your personality changes. Not intentionally, but it's just kind of gradual over the days, over the days, over the months. You absorb the environment around you, and the internet is an environment now, and it's probably the biggest one because everybody is connected to it. The problem is that outrage spreads faster than depth. So calm people become invisible and thoughtful people become invisible. Meanwhile, the loudest, the angriest, the most extreme people will dominate attention. And after a while, it creates this illusion that everyone is crazy. Everybody's angry, everyone is divided, and everyone is fake deep down. But I honestly don't think most people are bad. Truthfully, like, I think most people are overstimulated, disconnected, desperate to feel seen, and honestly, most of all, just scared. I think they're all just scared. That's why they lead the certain lifestyles they do. And that desperation makes people want to do strange things. Some people will chase validation constantly. Some will chase outrage. Some will become characters online because being a character feels easier than being vulnerable. Because vulnerability is risky. Being real is risky, especially online. But here's the truth that nobody says enough. You don't want to build your identity around attention, because attention is unstable. People will cheer for you one day and try to end your career on the next, destroy you on the next day. Algorithms will change, trends will change, audiences will change. And if your identity is built entirely on outside reaction, then your sense of self will become fragile. That's why so many people seem lost now. They've kind of built themselves around perception instead of reality, around reactions instead of values. And eventually you wake up not even knowing who you are without the internet watching. And that's terrifying. I think that's why so many people feel anxious all the time. Their nervous systems never rest. Their identity never settles. Everything becomes comparison and like performance based. And when life becomes performance based, and you're trying to hit these quotas, boom, 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 peace disappears. And the saddest part is that a lot of people actually are craving something simple right now. Real conversations, real friendships, real personalities around them, real calmness in their life. Sometimes something that doesn't feel filtered through trends and algorithms consistently, something human. And honestly, I don't think the answer is becoming louder. I think the answer is becoming more grounded. Spending time away from constant noise, thinking your own thoughts, protecting your attention, learning who you are when nobody's watching. Because if you're not careful, modern life will shape your identity for you, and it won't be all at once. It'll just be quietly until one day you realize you've been performing so long that you forget what being yourself even feels like.